Facebook world. It's been a while. Good to see ya. Here we are hanging out on a random Wednesday. Had to check my little Walmart watch to make sure it was Wednesday just now. Haven't remembered what day it is or what we're doing. Gonna give it a few minutes, a few moments for folks to join us for our nightly reflections. I haven't done this in a little bit. Over a week, I think it's been. We've been doing some things to change up our feeds and our programming, our virtual programming. So thank you to all our incredible supporters for staying with us and giving your feedback and support and sharing with us what you'd like to hear more of or more about. We always welcome your input. We always want to know what you have to say. David, hi. Hi, Mo. Hi, guys. Good to see you. I miss your faces. I can't wait to see you in person. It'll be a fun day. We're getting close. We're getting closer, I should say. Patrick, good to see you. My faves. It's been a little while since I've been on. We're doing some changes. We switched up a little bit of our programming and what we're doing. I'm really excited. Actually, tomorrow we do these like duo conversations in the morning and a couple of evenings or afternoons. And tomorrow, 9:30, Matt, who's our operations manager, and I are going to be on. We're going to be talking about families in recovery. And what it's like for family members, both from the side of the individual with substance use disorder and affected family members. So stay tuned. Pretty exciting. Miss Mo, I love seeing all your incredible Spartan work, all your hikes and adventures. It's super cool. I had a busy week, busy day. I actually I took off, right? The last couple of days, or yesterday, today, and tomorrow, and I went to Naples today to an incredible hike. Oh my gosh, it's not Conklin Gully, it's something other gully. It'll come to me. But it was so beautiful. We hiked the creek. There were tons of ropes. We hiked some waterfalls. A little sketchy. Actually, probably a little too sketchy for a recovery hike. I actually haven't been there before. It's a little too dangerous, I think, for a recovery group hike, but maybe an offline, people want to get together and hike kind of thing. And David, your question, anything about reopening? We are working on some safety protocols and plans to look at reopening or what that's going to look like, or outdoor programs. I don't really have updates or dates just yet, but stay tuned. As soon as we know, we will definitely put it out there. Can't wait to see all of your faces. It's been way, way too long. I'm excited. I miss you guys. I miss our community. I miss the people. I think that's the biggest piece of it, is because we're family at recovery. And not being around my family has had its challenges. Mo, nice. I need to get out to some of these beautiful places further out of the city. I've been starting a list. Yeah. There are some incredible, incredible places right nearby, a little bit out of the city, but just incredible gifts. We're so very fortunate here in the Finger Lakes in Western New York that there's so much beauty all around us. Got little Nia coming and join me. The dogs are inside. I locked them up. Here's Miss Nia. Hi, little Nies. I mess with her sometimes and I get bit, but that's just the nature of the beast. She's wonderful otherwise. Hi, Kimberly. Hi, Cornell. Good to see you virtually. Just kind of hanging out in my backyard. Memorial Day Murph was awful. I haven't been doing a lot of conditioning, so it hurt like hell. But it was really good to get through it. I was thinking a lot about just the time away, kind of resetting, rethinking, brainstorming, right? Like this new, we keep saying the new norm, right? This new norm, what that's going to look like. What does it look like for recovery? What does it look like for the recovery community? Just society as a whole, right? For those in the mental health world. And I think one of the themes that keeps coming to mind for me, hi Kimberly, I love that emoji. It's a sun. I love it. One of the things that comes to mind for me is a lot of fear. You know, I think both rational and some irrational, probably, fears around what's going on in the world, what's going to happen in the future. And they pose a lot of challenges. You know, I know for me, I've been avoiding like stores. I've been doing a lot of Amazon ordering, Instacart. But at some point, I don't know, there's different opinions, and it's kind of like a controversial topic, so I'm not going to go there. But I do know that fear is underlying a lot of what's driving our society and our community, right? And today's reflection was actually around fear. Let's see, I have my couple of books here. It is the 27th, right? Yeah, it is. It's about fear and living in fear, and I thought that was really fitting. I'm reading out of Journey to the Heart, Melanie Beattie. It's a really good book. It's not specific to a religion or program or anything like that. It's just kind of daily meditations on the path to freeing your soul. So I like that. And this reading, it's called Stop Punishing Yourself with Fear. That's a good one. It's time to stop punishing ourselves. Time to stop beating ourselves over the head with fear. That's a big one for me. I know, like in active addiction, I was afraid. I didn't know, like seemingly unaware that I was afraid of life, right? I was just afraid of feeling. I was afraid of people. People really dominated me. And actually in recovery, some of those things carry over, right? Just because I stopped drinking and I stopped using didn't take away the emotions I was trying to mask with drugs and alcohol, right? So fear was it was like woven. It was underlying so much of my life and of my actions. So this is the scenario. A fear enters our mind. Our mind takes it and runs with it. Something bad is going to happen. Something terrible and traumatic is on the way. We quickly review the traumas of our past and make the determination, yes, it is very possible that this devastating event will happen. I don't know how many of you guys have, when things are going well, maybe things aren't going well, like waiting for the next shoe to drop, waiting, or having fears around what the future holds, right? And a lot of that, I think, is pretty spot on today because there are so many unknowns about everything, right? So when we think about it and we sort of, the reading talks about it, I'm going to jump ahead with my reflections on it, but it's all about like the energy we put out. So if we're fearful, right, like if you think you can't, you can't. But if you think you can, and you will. So we sit crouched in the present moment, full of fear and dread. We worry that the worst that could possibly happen probably will. We begin to believe that it's most likely waiting at our doorstep, ready to pounce on us and steal our joy, our peace, our place and rhythm in the universe. I don't know, and like chime in, guys. Let me know what you think about that. Because I can visualize 5,000 scenarios, right? And I don't think these things are unique to people in recovery. I think it's just life. I could obsess about outcomes, all the horrible things that could happen. I actually have this recurrent fear. Hazel loves to have her head out the window when we're driving, loves it. She's always out the window, rain, snow, sleet, it doesn't matter. She's out there, happy as can be. And I'm always scared. I always keep the window half down or a little, I don't put it down all the way because I am convinced, beyond a shadow of a doubt, this psychopath will jump out of a moving vehicle and run after a squirrel if given the opportunity. and I have like the window locks on because her paws will hit the button and open the window. But I have this like scenario that plays over my head where I see her jumping out as I'm driving. Like she somehow squeezes through the window, jumps out, gets hit by a car. I stop, another car's coming. Like this whole scenario, like I have it, I've pictured it, and it like haunts me, you know? And sometimes when like you just see it, you see it, you see it, you're almost like bringing it into your life, right? And it's so funny because I just saw Kimberly's comment as I'm like having the thought, that sounds like self-fulfilling prophecy. I try to tell my people when they start feeling like that to try and take a breath, count to 10. Sometimes it helps and sometimes they need another breath. Spot on. That's so spot on, right? It's like that, the exchange of energy in the universe. When you're putting out painful, trauma-filled energy, you're attracting painful experiences in many ways, right? Like hurt people. That's something I always think about. When we're hurting, we attract people that are going to hurt us, you know? Patrick said, my sponsor always asks me 2 questions. Is it real or imagined? That's 1. 2, what are your options? Or helps me work on the what could I have done differently part of inventory. Yeah, it's all about, like, it's the same theme, right, that we always talk about, perception. It's how we perceive situations. Where do we have the ability, the power, the control to make changes, right? Kind of like the serenity prayer. Knowing, like acceptance, I just drew a blank on the prayer, accepting what we can't change, right? Having an awareness of we can, and then knowing the difference when it's just like leave it alone, right? Moro, I feel like your brain can't tell the difference between real danger and imagined danger. That is absolutely true. That is absolutely true. And as a matter of fact, for like post-traumatic stress, it's real or perceived danger because your brain can't tell the difference. Even if it hasn't actually physically happened, your brain reacts the same way as it has. It's real or perceived, right? Because it's fight or flight. It's our adrenaline. It's all the, I don't know the full science behind it, but the way our body responds, right? All our nerve endings are firing when we have perceived that we're in danger. I just want to give a quick shout out. We have a bunch of folks that joined. Christian, hi Christian, hi Dennis. Neighbor, good to see you, almost neighbor. Nikki, haven't seen your beautiful face in a while. And Tony and Matt and Jackie, hey you guys, glad you joined us. We're talking about fear, but we're also, as always with me, talking about this like exchange of energy, and what we put out to the universe comes back to us, right? So it's around fear and like rational or irrational, or the ways in which we interpret, right, situations, and where we have the ability to make changes. Because we have harbored the fear so intensely, it has already manifested itself. The thing we fear doesn't need to happen. It already has, or it might as well have, right? We're like jumping ahead of the reading. And that doesn't mean we have to give up the beauty. Wait, did I skip a page? Here, or sentence, or it might as well have, because we are already forcing ourselves to live through it, right? And like fear is a horrible, horrible thing. When we envision it, we invite it in some ways, right? And living through it is just so incredibly painful. I know it's paralyzing for me. Like if I'm just too afraid and I can't let it go, I'm having a hard time making decisions. I'm having a hard time in my personal relationships because I don't know what to do. I'm having a hard time at work. Like, how do I act? You know, all these weird things that are all directly related to the fear I'm carrying into my day. Yes, many awful things have happened to you and me that we're very sorry happened. But that doesn't mean that we have to give up the beauty of the present moment to something that hasn't happened yet. Even if it does happen sometime in the future, by harboring the fear, we will have lived through it twice as long as we need to. And isn't that the truth? And that's such a profound statement, you know, by harboring, by imagining it, by living through it. If it were to happen, if whatever that fear is, whatever you're afraid of happens, we've now lived through it twice, right? We've forced ourselves, or multiple times, to live through it repeatedly. This perceived fear. Nikki, struggling with the balance of work and life outside work lately. My forever struggles, it seems. Oh my gosh. I feel like balance is like a buzzword. You know, we're always seeking balance, but it's this thing, to me anyway, the way I kind of view it is it's like a unattainable thing. We just always shoot for, right, a more balanced life, but we never like quite attain. We never get to a place of total balance. It's just a constant seeking. It's a constant effort. And it sounds like that's exactly what you're doing, our forever struggle, right? Dave Riley, hello. Hi, Bill. Thanks for joining, guys. Good to see you. Just over here shooting the poop, talking about fear. So recognize and acknowledge your fear, right? We talk about this a lot, mindfulness. Recognize and acknowledge your fear, then release it. Let go of the energy. Stop punishing yourself. While life seasons may not always be fair, they are trustworthy. And within each day, each moment of each season, there is a way of peace and joy. I absolutely love that. Life seasons may not always be fair. They are always trustworthy. And I think, you know, it's like super profound because it's really saying this will pass. The good will pass. The bad will pass. You know, there's like all these little slogans or sayings. Feelings aren't facts. And this too shall pass is another one, which like you hate to hear when you're in it. But that's just the truth of it. I have this tattoo kind of on my shoulder blades, and it's in Hebrew, and it says Gamze Avo, and it quite literally, it's like slang, but it quite literally means the ball keeps rolling, so what goes up must come down. You know, this too shall pass. Kimberly wrote, I used to live in fear for the longest time, but then I somehow survived something that almost killed, and I felt my fear disappear. So now I try to take one day at a time. And Kimberly, isn't that such a beautiful gift? You know, for so many of us, with substance use disorder and mental health, whatever it may be, we've survived the unthinkable. You know, I think about trauma. And there's things called ACEs, adverse childhood experiences, as well as trauma in a more kind of, not traditional, but technical sense, I guess, right? And it's like a combination. We've all experienced trauma. And the thing with ACEs is adverse childhood experiences, which can be like everyday, ordinary traumas. A fight with your first boyfriend or your best friend, or you don't get a good grade, and all these little things just add up and compile. And they start to get really heavy, and fear starts to creep in, and those old beliefs, old negative beliefs, I'm never going to be good enough, I'm never going to be able to do this, I'm never going to amount to anything, I'm not worthy, I'm not enough. A million different things go through our minds and keep us so stuck and in so much pain and in so much fear, and it paralyzes us. Right, we just talked about like the self-fulfilling prophecy. If you believe you can't, you won't, right? But if you believe you can, you can and you will, right? So this idea about fear, of like living in fear, invites more fear, right? But being able to practice mindfulness, acknowledging the fear, allowing it, kind of not just acknowledging it, but respecting it too. You know, there is this fear, rational or irrational, but it's there. That's more of the labeling piece that we're not trying to do. It doesn't matter. The biggest part is like taking its power away. So when we acknowledge it, we recognize, we check in with our body's responses, right? There's certain ways our bodies respond to fear, and we all have our own little ways. There are a lot of similarities around adrenaline, getting kind of stiff, breathing changes, but acknowledging and recognizing, honoring that fear. Fear isn't a bad thing, right? We have healthy fears. I have a healthy fear of going back out, right? I never want to go back to that life, and I'm afraid of it. I have a certain level of respect for drugs and alcohol, and I say that in the sense of like, I respect that. I don't know that I respect that, but their power. Yeah, I respect the power they have over me, and I don't want to enter that world. So that's a healthy fear, right? So labeling fear, I would caution you against, because that puts you in this position of like shaming yourself for being afraid, which isn't a shameful thing. Hi, Dano. Yeah, so acknowledging it and letting it go, letting it pass, taking back your power, right? Because oftentimes, like we said, that slogan or that saying, feelings aren't facts, we could feel them, and that's okay. And they're not going to kill us. That's the other thing. Like, sometimes, the pain in a breakup, in a negative situation, when things just seem like you're going through it and they're not going to get any better, your feelings won't kill you. It's your actions. It's what you do with those feelings. By practicing mindfulness, you really let go of the power those feelings hold over you. So do not allow fear of what if to ruin the joy of what is. And what a beautiful way to close that little meditation, because like what is so beautiful. We are so privileged. We are so gifted. There are so many things in our community, right, in our local area, in the recovery community, and as a whole, in our lives, that just brings us so much joy, right? I think about if this lockdown happened in the winter and we couldn't get outside, right? Because for other countries it did. But we have the opportunity to, like, I'm sitting outside in my backyard. It's a beautiful day, right? So staying in that grateful place, that grateful mindset, we live in a beautiful world, right? And it's easy to fall into seeing all the negative things in the world, and being so afraid of the world. But I would offer up that self-imposed fear, and self-imposed fear leads to self-imposed misery. Because really, like, we can do anything, right? We can go outside. We might not be able to like eat at restaurants, but we can go get takeout and then eat on the beach, or like eat in the park. The world is our oyster. Everything's at our fingertips. And so much of it is about attitude. So much of it is about perception. I know I say the same thing over and over again, but I really just think that's our path to freedom, right? How we see the world, the kind of tinted lenses do we see the world with? Yeah, I have a bunch of books with me because I wasn't sure which one I was going to read. There's another section and another one, but I'm going to leave that one alone. I think it's just like, I don't know. I think fear is our enemy, and having a healthy respect for fear, but not allowing it to take over our lives is really important, especially with like pandemonium, right? There's a video on my Facebook page, and my Facebook page, even if we're not friends on Facebook, is public, so it's like a little ways down, but it's this woman, you might have seen it, and she's like a news reporter, and she talks about clarifies, if you're confused, here's what's happening in the world or what you can and can't do. And it's just like the funniest thing. It's basically like, how many times do we have to tell you, don't go outside unless you absolutely have to go outside? And it's just super funny. But that's kind of like what we're living in, right? So much fear, so many unknowns, everything's uncertain. You don't know if you touch a tree, if you're gonna get like a virus, or, you know, if there's like valid fear of going to, I went to Charlotte Beach by the pier, and wow, you'd think things were like back to normal, you know? So the extremes of it. This is a good time to end because I go on tangents if I'm left unattended. It's really good to be back, guys. I'm really glad you're all here. Thanks for tuning in. Check out our schedule. It's pinned to our page. We have a lot of really cool happenings, great conversations with all of our staff. I know you've gotten to know some of us through these feeds, but you're gonna get to know a whole lot more of us. And I'm just so excited for all these new feeds and all this new programming. So yeah, self-care, guys, always self-care. Start each day with an intention, right? Kirsten talks about intention. Start each day with an intention for the day. I would offer up the intention of like helping someone, being of service to someone. I know for me, I try to start each day that way because it's like the greatest gift to give away. You know, if I can be helpful to anyone or anything or in any way, self-fulfilling prophecy, right? It just brings peace to my life. All right, guys, it's been good seeing all of you. I'm excited to see you all tomorrow, 9:30. Matt and I talking about families in recovery. Can't wait. It's going to be a really good conversation. I hope you like it. And that's that. So check out the new schedule. Missed you tons. Have a great night. Get outdoors, get outside, do something fun, and see you tomorrow. Bye.